Hey guys, this is Miss Arlequin, and in this video we're going to be learning our new set of vocabulary words from the teleplay, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. Alright, so as usual, we're going to start by rating our prior knowledge of the vocabulary words. Remember, 1, never seen or heard the word before, going all the way up to a 4. 4, you are an expert on the word. First word is antagonism. Second is intimidate. Third is defiant. Fourth is idiosyncrasy. Fifth is converging, and the sixth word is sluggish. All right, so antagonism means hostility. So you might feel antagonism toward your annoying little sister, especially if she's always borrowing your stuff without asking. Antagonism is one of the few things that you can share easily with someone that you don't like. So you share antagonism, you feel antagonism. You might feel antagonism towards your school, or at least the idea of going to school. If you're an antagonistic person, so now we're talking about part of the word family. Antagonistic means you're describing, it's an adjective. So if you're an antagonistic person, you feel antagonism to lots of people and things. So antagonism with the ISM at the end is a noun. Antagonistic, IC is the adjective, and then you can also use it as a verb. You can be antagonizing someone. Antagonism is hostility. It's a strong feeling of dislike or hatred, or a desire to oppose something that you dislike or disagree with. So there is a long history of antagonism between the two nations. All right, our next word is intimidate. So you might notice when you look at the word intimidate that it has the word timid in the middle. And to be timid is to be frightened or to pull back from something. So you can actually use your knowledge of the word timid to figure out intimidate. Because when you intimidate someone, you're frightening them or you're making them afraid. A pet rat might intimidate your sister's friends, keeping them out of your fort. So when you intimidate someone, they become timid. You're frightening them, you're making them fearful. That's at the root of the verb intimidate. An animal can intimidate a smaller animal just by baring its teeth. A person can intimidate another person by threatening to do something harmful to them. You can be intimidated either mentally or emotionally. So bullies intimidate other people, and also physical. They were all good spellers, but some of them knew how to intimidate the competition into thinking they didn't have a chance at winning the spelling bee. In that sentence, they're intimidating them, probably not physically, but probably through taunting and some kind of wordplay to make them, or being boastful and arrogant to make the other people feel like they're not as good. So as a verb, you intimidate someone, you're making them afraid, you're frightening or threatening them. You could also use it as a noun. The person who's doing the intimidating would be the intimidator. And you could also talk about it as a noun, being in a state of intimidation, a state of fear. He was intimidated by the crowd, but he continued to speak. All right, so now on to our next word, defiant. Have you ever seen a picture of a protester who's about to be carried off by police, but they're still shouting and resisting, fighting to the bitter end? Well, that person is defiant. Someone who's defiant is bold, even in the face of defeat. A defiant person is usually fighting a powerful enemy, and they're going to stand up against them. They're not going to back down. They're not intimidated. People who protest in countries controlled by dictators are defiant. Rosa Parks was defiant when she refused to give up her seat on the bus, even though the law at that time dictated that black people had to stand when whites needed a seat. Small children can be defiant too, sometimes over nothing more than just a request to share their toys. So defiant is an adjective you describe to anybody who is being boldly resistant to authority or an opponent. You can also use it as a noun and talk about somebody's defiance or an act of defiance. And then you can also use it as a verb. You defy someone. He was defiant and refused to cooperate. Our next word is idiosyncrasy. If a person has an idiosyncrasy, then you're saying that they have a little quirk or a funny behavior that makes them different. Now, for example, if you were to only say goodbye in French, never in English, that would be considered an idiosyncrasy. Idios might seem like it means stupid, but really it's just Latin for one's own. As an idiosyncrasy is basically one's own particular, usual, odd behavior. putting salt in your hot chocolate, or needing the light on to sleep, or tapping your head while you think are all idiosyncrasies, right? Little habits, weird, quirky habits. So again, idiosyncrasy, a peculiarity, an unusual personality trait. An idiosyncrasy of Fred's is that he doesn't like chocolate. Synonyms would be saying someone who is eccentric or quirky. All right, our next word is converge. We use the word converge to describe something that comes together at a common point. Like thousands of Elvis fans plan to converge on the small Arkansas town where unconfirmed sightings of the deceased superstar eating at a local barbecue restaurant have been widely reported. So they're all going to meet at this one location. And so the one place they meet would be the point of convergence. Two roads, a room full of politicians, or a group of rabid fans. Anytime things come together from different points, they are converging. So converging, another way to think of it, is things that are closing in on each other. As the crowd becomes a mob, they began converging on Sam, surrounding him. All right, our next word is sluggish. When you're feeling draggy, like a slug-like, you're basically sluggish or slow. If cookie sales are sluggish at your bake sale, then you're selling very few of the treats. Just about anything can be sluggish. An old computer that takes forever to load a piece of software is sluggish. Also a car that can't make it up a big hill would be described as sluggish. And a person who is sluggish in the morning usually hasn't had their first cup of coffee, so they're a little slow moving. So you're moving slowly or lazily when you're being sluggish. The game picked up after a sluggish start. All right, so now it is time to write our own example sentences. For this, you are writing 2 sentences per word. Remember that you want your sentences to have context clues, so you want to think about the 5 W's, especially the why and how, because the why and how are the details in a sentence that usually give the context clues. And as always, if you use any previous vocabulary words in your sentence as well, those are going to earn you bonus points.